The year was 2147, and Earth had never been more peaceful. The skies above the sprawling cities were filled with drones delivering goods, while below, people went about their lives in a world that seemed to have left its troubles behind. Humanity had made incredible progress over the centuries. They had colonized Mars, built research stations on Europa and Titan, and developed technologies that once belonged only in science fiction. But despite all these advancements, one thing hadn't changed. Earth still kept to itself. Alex Carter sat hunched over his desk at the Global Space Research Institute in New Chicago. His office was small but tidy, with shelves lined with books about astronomy and physics. A large window behind him offered a view of the city skyline, though Alex rarely looked up from his work long enough to notice it. He was an astrophysicist, someone who studied the stars and space, and he spent most of his days analyzing signals coming from deep space. To many people, his job sounded exciting, like something out of a movie. But in reality, it was slow and often boring. Most of the signals he examined turned out to be nothing, just random bursts of energy or interference from satellites. Still, Alex loved what he did. There was something comforting about the predictability of his routine. Every morning he would arrive at the institute, grab a cup of coffee from the cafeteria, and settle into his chair to sift through data. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt important. Even if no one else cared much about what was happening beyond Earth's atmosphere, Alex believed that understanding the universe was key to humanity's survival. On this particular day, however, things were different. As Alex scrolled through the latest batch of signals, one caught his eye. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but there was something unusual about it. The pattern didn't match anything he'd seen before. At first, he thought it might be a glitch in the equipment, but after running several tests, he realized it was real. Whatever it was coming from somewhere far outside the solar system. Curious, Alex decided to dig deeper. He cross-referenced the signal with older data sets, looking for similar patterns. That's when he noticed something strange. Over the past few months, there had been a series of anomalies, tiny blips in the cosmic noise that he had dismissed as insignificant at the time. Now they seemed connected. Someone or something was sending messages across the galaxy, and those messages were getting closer. Before Alex could make sense of what he was seeing, his phone buzzed on the desk. It was Mia Lopez, a journalist he'd met at a conference a few months earlier. Mia was known for her investigative pieces, the kind that exposed corruption and uncovered secrets hidden by powerful organizations. She had a reputation for being persistent, sometimes to the point of annoyance, but Alex respected her dedication to finding the truth. "Hey, Alex," Mia said when he answered. "I need your help," Alex sighed. He liked Mia, but she always seemed to call him at the worst possible times. "What is it now?" he asked, leaning back in his chair. "I've got something big," Mia replied, her voice urgent. "Remember those classified files I told you about? The ones I found buried in some government database?" Alex nodded, even though she couldn't see him. A few weeks ago, Mia had mentioned stumbling upon documents suggesting that Earth's leaders had been secretly monitoring galactic conflicts between alien civilizations. At the time, Alex hadn't paid much attention. Alien wars sounded like the stuff of conspiracy theories, not serious scientific discussion. "Well, I managed to decrypt part of it," Mia continued. "And you're not going to believe what I found." Alex frowned. "Mia, I'm busy right now. Can we talk later?" "No, we can't," she said firmly. "This is important. Trust me." Reluctantly, Alex agreed to meet her at a cafe near the institute. When he arrived, Mia was already there, sitting at a corner table with a laptop open in front of her. She greeted him with a tense smile and gestured for him to sit down. "What's so urgent?" Alex asked, setting his bag on the floor. Mia turned the laptop toward him. On the screen was a series of charts and graphs, along with excerpts from what appeared to be official reports. "Take a look at this," she said, pointing to one section. "It's talking about two alien factions, the Valens and the Krylos. Apparently they've been fighting each other for centuries, and our governments have known about it the whole time." Alex skimmed the text, his brow furrowing. "Wait, are you saying Earth has been spying on them?" "Not exactly," Mia replied. "From what I can tell, They've been listening in on their communications, trying to figure out if the conflict poses any threat to us. So far, they've decided it doesn't. But how do they know that? Alex asked, shaking his head. We don't even know what these aliens are capable of. That's the thing, Mia said, leaning forward. They're assuming we're safe because the war is happening light years away. But what if they're wrong? What if the Krylos or whoever decide Earth looks like an easy target? Alex stared at her, unsure how to respond. The idea of aliens attacking Earth sounded absurd, like something out of a bad movie. Still, the timing of Mia's discovery and the strange signal he'd found earlier that day gave him pause. Could there be a connection? Let me show you something, Alex said finally. He pulled out his tablet and brought up the data he'd been analyzing. I came across this today. It's a signal coming from deep space, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Mia's eyes widened as she studied the information. Do you think it's related to the Krylos? I don't know, Alex admitted. But it's definitely worth investigating. Over the next hour, they pored over the data together, comparing notes and brainstorming theories. By the time they finished, both of them felt a growing sense of unease. If Earth's leaders really had ignored the galactic conflict, they might have made a dangerous mistake. As Alex walked back to the Institute, his mind raced with possibilities. For years, humanity had assumed it was alone in the universe, or at least safe from whatever dangers lurked among the stars. But now, that assumption was starting to feel less certain. Somewhere out there, forces were at play that Earth couldn't afford to ignore any longer. Back in his office, Alex opened another file on his computer. This one contained historical records of unexplained phenomena, strange lights in the sky, mysterious disappearances, and bizarre weather patterns. Individually, none of them seemed significant. But when viewed together, they formed a disturbing picture. Something was changing, and it wasn't just happening in space. For the first time in his life, Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know what was coming, but he knew one thing for sure. Earth's days of isolation were numbered. Weeks passed, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to go terribly wrong. The strange signal he had discovered grew stronger with each passing day, and now it wasn't just a faint blip in the data, it was almost deafening. Every time he tried to analyze it, his instruments struggled to keep up, as if the signal itself was alive, pulsing with energy. He spent hours in his office at the Global Space Research Institute, piecing together fragments of information, but no matter how hard he worked, the answers remained elusive. Mia called him almost daily, eager for updates. She had been digging deeper into the classified documents she had uncovered, and her findings were alarming. According to the reports, the Krylos, the alien faction mentioned in the files, were ruthless conquerors. They didn't negotiate or compromise. They simply took what they wanted, leaving destruction in their wake. Worse still, there were rumors that the Krylos had begun targeting planets on the fringes of their territory, worlds rich in resources but poorly defended. Earth, with its vast oceans, fertile lands, and untapped mineral wealth, might be next on their list. Despite Mia's warnings, Alex tried to stay calm. We don't know for sure that this has anything to do with the Krylos, he told her during one of their calls. For all we know, this signal could be completely unrelated. Or it could be exactly what I think it is, Mia shot back. You've seen the same patterns I have, Alex. Everything points to them heading our way. Why won't you admit it? Alex sighed. He wanted to believe her paranoia was unfounded, but deep down he knew she was probably right. Still, admitting it out loud felt like giving up hope. If the Krylos really were coming, what could humanity do to stop them? Their weapons were primitive compared to what the aliens likely possessed. Even Earth's most advanced technology would be useless against an enemy capable of traveling across the stars as the days turned into weeks. Strange things began happening around the world. Satellites malfunctioned without explanation, cutting off communication networks and disrupting global trade. Crops failed in regions where conditions should have been ideal, leading to food shortages in some areas. Power grids flickered and died, plunging entire cities into darkness. Governments scrambled to address the issues, blaming everything from solar flares to cyber attacks, but the explanations rang hollow. People started to panic. One night, unable to sleep, Alex decided to visit the observatory outside the city. It was a quiet place, far from the noise and chaos of urban life, and he often went there when he needed to clear his head. The air was crisp and cool as he climbed the steps to the telescope, the stars twinkling brightly above him. For a moment he forgot about the signal, the Krylos, and the growing sense of dread that had taken root in his chest, but then he saw it. Through the lens of the telescope, a massive object loomed in the distance. At first, Alex thought it was a comet or an asteroid, but as he adjusted the focus, he realized it was neither. The object was shaped like a jagged shard of obsidian, its surface reflecting no light. It moved silently through space, gliding closer to Earth with every passing second. Alex's heart raced as he snapped pictures and recorded video, trying to document what he was seeing. Whatever it wasn't natural, and it was getting closer. The next morning, Alex rushed to meet Mia at the same cafe where they had first discussed the classified files. She could tell immediately that something was wrong. What happened? She asked, her voice tense. I saw it last night, Alex said, sliding into the seat across from her. A ship, or maybe more than one. It's huge, Mia. Bigger than anything we've ever built. Mia's face paled. Are you sure it's not human-made? Positive, Alex replied. It's moving too fast, too precisely. And it's heading straight for us. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation sinking in. Finally, Mia spoke. We need to tell someone. This can't wait, Alex shook his head. Who's going to listen? We're just two people. No one will believe us unless we have proof, Mia frowned. Then we'll give them proof. Leak it online, let the whole world see what's coming. Alex hesitated. Leaking classified information and potentially causing widespread panic wasn't something he had ever considered before. But Mia was right. If they didn't act, Earth would be caught completely unprepared. Reluctantly, he agreed to share the images and videos he had captured. Together, they uploaded the files to a secure server and sent them to major news outlets, along with a detailed explanation of what they believed was happening. Within hours, the story exploded. News anchors interrupted regular programming to report on the mysterious object approaching Earth. Social media lit up with speculation, fear, and anger. Governments around the world issued statements urging calm, but their reassurances fell flat. Protests erupted in cities across the globe as people demanded answers. Who were these visitors? What did they want? And why hadn't anyone warned them sooner? Amid the chaos, Alex and Mia found themselves thrust into the spotlight. Journalists hounded them for interviews, and conspiracy theorists accused them of fabricating the story. Despite the scrutiny, they refused to back down. They knew the truth, and they weren't going to let anyone silence them. Meanwhile, the object continued its steady approach. Scientists confirmed that it wasn't alone. There were dozens of ships, perhaps even hundreds, forming a fleet that stretched across the sky. Military forces scrambled to prepare for the worst, deploying fighter jets and missile systems despite knowing they stood little chance against an enemy with such advanced technology. Then, on a cold gray morning, the transmission came. It arrived simultaneously on every radio frequency, television channel, and digital platform. The voice was deep and mechanical, speaking in perfect English. Your silence ends now. The message sent shockwaves through the planet. World leaders convened emergency summits debating how to respond. Some argued for diplomacy, suggesting that Earth should attempt to communicate with the invaders. Others pushed for immediate military action, believing that showing strength was the only way to survive. But with no clear plan and time running out, humanity remained divided. Commander Rachel Dawson, a seasoned military strategist tasked with coordinating Earth's defense, reached out to Alex and Mia. She invited them to join an international task force responsible for planning humanity's response to the crisis. Reluctantly, they accepted, knowing they had no other choice. Their first meeting took place in a secure bunker beneath Washington, DC dozens of scientists, politicians, and military personnel crowded into the room, their faces grim. Maps and diagrams covered the walls, detailing potential strategies and weak points in Earth's defenses. Commander Dawson stood at the front, her expression stern but determined. "We don't have much time," she began, addressing the group. "These beings are unlike anything we've ever encountered. Our weapons may not work against them, and our technology is decades, if not centuries, behind theirs. But we have one advantage: numbers. If we can unite, if we can fight together, we might stand a chance." Her words inspired a flicker of hope, but the reality of the situation remained bleak. The Krylos fleet was closing in, and Earth's options were limited. As the meeting dragged on, Alex and Mia exchanged worried glances. They both knew that unity wouldn't come easily, not when fear and distrust ran so deep. That night, as Alex lay awake in his hotel room, he thought about the signal, the ships, and the transmission. He thought about the billions of lives depending on him and Mia to find a solution. Most of all, he thought about the future, a future that suddenly seemed terrifyingly uncertain. Whatever happened next, one thing was clear: Earth's days of ignorance were over. The days that followed were a blur of frantic preparation and mounting fear. Earth's leaders had finally acknowledged the reality of the situation, but their efforts to organize a unified response were chaotic at best. Military forces across the globe scrambled to deploy weapon systems, though most experts agreed they would be useless against an enemy as advanced as the Krylos. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new technologies, while governments tried to reassure the public that everything was under control. But no one believed them. Not anymore. Alex and Mia spent nearly every waking moment in the secure bunker beneath Washington, D.C., working alongside Commander Rachel Dawson and her team. The task force had grown larger, with representatives from nearly every country contributing ideas and resources. Despite the collaboration, tensions ran high. Some nations wanted to focus on defense, building shields and fortifications to protect their cities. Others pushed for offensive strategies, arguing that humanity needed to show strength if it hoped to survive. Arguments erupted constantly, and progress was slow. Amid the chaos, Alex continued analyzing the signals coming from the Krylos fleet. He spent hours poring over data, searching for any clue that might give Earth an edge. It was grueling work, but he refused to give up. If there was even the smallest chance of finding a weakness, he was determined to find it. One evening, as the rest of the team debated tactics in the main meeting room, Alex sat alone in a small office, staring at his computer screen. The signal patterns were unlike anything he'd ever seen: complex, layered, almost musical in their structure. At first glance, they seemed random, but the more he studied them, the more he began to notice subtle repetitions. They weren't just noise. They were instructions, commands sent from one ship to another. Then it hit him. The signals all converged on a single point, the largest ship in the fleet. It wasn't just a flagship, it was the heart of the entire operation. Every movement, every attack, every decision was coordinated through this central vessel. If Earth could disable it, the rest of the fleet might fall into disarray. Excited by his discovery, Alex rushed to share the news with Mia. She was in the cafeteria, picking at a sandwich while scrolling through updates on her phone. When she saw the look on his face, she immediately set her food aside. "What is it?" she asked. "I think I found their weak spot," Alex said, pulling up a chair. He explained his findings, pointing to the data on his tablet. "This big ship, it's like their brain. Everything they do comes from there. If we can take it out, we might have a chance." Mia frowned. "How are we supposed to do that? Their ships are protected by shields, and we don't even know if our weapons can reach them." "I don't know yet," Alex admitted, "but it's something. We need to tell Commander Dawson." They found Commander Dawson in the command center, surrounded by maps and holographic projections of the Krylos fleet. Her expression softened slightly when she saw them, though her tone remained firm. "What is it?" she asked. "We think we've identified their command ship," Alex said. He handed her the tablet, explaining his theory. "If we can destroy it, their whole fleet might collapse. Commander Dawson studied the data carefully, her brow furrowed in thought. Finally, she nodded. It's risky, but it's the best lead we've got. We'll need volunteers for the mission. Volunteers? Mia repeated, surprised. You mean people are actually going to try to get close to those ships? It's the only way, Commander Dawson replied. We're assembling a strike. Team now. Pilots, engineers, anyone who can help. You two should consider joining us, Alex hesitated. He wasn't a soldier, he was a scientist. The idea of flying into space to face an alien armada terrified him, but he also knew he couldn't sit back and do nothing. If this mission had even a slim chance of succeeding, he had to be part of it. Mia, however, didn't hesitate. I'm in, she said firmly. If we're going to stop them, someone needs to be there to document everything. Besides, I've come this far, I'm not backing down now. Reluctantly, Alex agreed. Commander Dawson assigned them to a small strike team led by two experienced pilots, Jordan Hayes and Daniel Brooks. Both men had served in space missions before and were known for their skill and bravery. Along with a handful of engineers and technicians, the group would launch aboard the Eclipse, a prototype starship equipped with experimental stealth technology reverse, engineered from fragments of Krylos debris recovered during earlier encounters. The night before the mission, Alex lay awake in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. His mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. Would they make it past the Krylos fleet? Could they really destroy the command ship? Or were they walking straight into a trap? Beside him, Mia tossed and turned, clearly struggling with her own fears. Neither of them spoke, they didn't need to. They both knew the odds were against them. The next morning, the team gathered in the hangar where the Eclipse was docked. The ship was sleek and black, its surface designed to absorb radar and light, making it nearly invisible to detection. Inside, the crew prepared for launch, running final checks on the engines and weapon systems. Commander Dawson gave a brief speech, her voice steady and confident. You're our best hope, she said. Bring us back a victory. As the Eclipse lifted off, Alex felt a mix of dread and determination. The journey to the Krylos fleet would take several hours, giving the team time to plan their approach. Jordan and Daniel piloted the ship, weaving through asteroid fields and debris clouds to avoid detection. Meanwhile, Alex and Mia reviewed the data one last time, ensuring they had pinpointed the exact location of the command ship. Midway through the flight, the team encountered a group of Valen ships fleeing the area. The Valens, allies of Earth, according to the classified files, had been losing ground to the Krylos for years. One of their vessels broadcast a desperate message, pleading for help. They're harvesting your planet, the voice said. Your resources, your energy, they will leave you barren. The message confirmed Alex and Mia's worst fears. The Krylos weren't here to negotiate or explore, they were here to conquer. And once they had taken what they wanted, they would move on, leaving Earth a lifeless husk. When the Eclipse finally reached the outskirts of the Krylos fleet, the sight was overwhelming. Hundreds of ships loomed in the darkness, their jagged forms casting eerie shadows against the void. The command ship dominated the center, its massive bulk bristling with weapons and defenses. Getting close enough to plant explosives would be nearly impossible, but they had no choice. Jordan and Daniel guided the Eclipse toward the command ship, using its stealth capabilities to slip past smaller patrol vessels. Inside, the crew held their breath, waiting for alarms to sound or lasers to fire. But miraculously, they made it undetected. Once they were within range, Alex and Mia suited up for the infiltration. Alongside Daniel and two other crew members, they boarded a shuttle and detached from the Eclipse. As they approached the command ship, Alex's heart pounded in his chest. This was it, the moment of truth. The shuttle docked with a quiet hiss, and the team stepped onto the alien vessel. The interior was cold and metallic, lit by dim blue lights that pulsed rhythmically. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly as if alive. The air smelled acrid, tinged with ozone. Every step echoed loudly, and the silence between sounds was suffocating. Their goal was clear: locate the core of the ship and plant the explosives, but finding it wouldn't be easy. The corridors twisted and branched unpredictably, and the Team had to rely on Alex's analysis of the signal patterns to navigate. Along the way, they encountered Krylo's drones, small, insect-like machines that patrolled the halls. Each encounter was tense, forcing the team to move quickly and quietly to avoid detection. At one point, they came face to face with a Krylos soldier, towering and insectoid. Its exoskeleton gleamed menacingly in the low light. For a moment, everyone froze. Then Daniel acted, firing a stun weapon that sent the creature collapsing to the floor. The shot echoed through the corridor, and alarms began to blare. "We've got company!" Daniel shouted, motioning for the others to follow him. The team sprinted down the hallway, dodging blasts from automated turrets as they went. Behind them, the sound of heavy footsteps grew louder. More Krylos soldiers were closing in. Finally, they reached the core chamber. It was a vast, cavernous room dominated by a pulsating orb of energy suspended in midair. Thick cables snaked from the orb to the walls, feeding power to the entire ship. Alex wasted no time, attaching the explosives to the base of the orb while the others kept watch. "Hurry up," Mia urged, glancing nervously at the entrance. Shadows moved in the distance. Reinforcements were arriving. "I'm almost done," Alex replied, his hands trembling as he secured the final charge. A countdown timer appeared on the device, ticking down from 60 seconds. "Let's go," Daniel yelled, grabbing Alex's arm and pulling him toward the exit. The team barely made it back to the shuttle before the explosives detonated. The command ship shuddered violently, its systems failing as the core collapsed. Outside, the rest of the fleet began to falter, their coordination breaking down without the central hub to guide them. As the eclipse sped away, Alex allowed himself a moment of relief. They had done it, or so he hoped. But even as the Krylos fleet retreated, he knew the battle wasn't over. Earth still faced The return journey to Earth aboard the Eclipse was quiet, almost eerily so. The crew sat in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Jordan and Daniel piloted the ship with grim determination, their faces pale from exhaustion and adrenaline. Alex stared out of a small viewport, watching the stars blur into streaks of light as the ship accelerated. He couldn't shake the image of the Krylos command ship collapsing, its core imploding in a burst of energy that had lit up the void like a dying sun. They had succeeded in their mission, or at least they had done what they set out to do, but the cost weighed heavily on everyone. Mia sat beside Alex, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She hadn't spoken much since they left the Krylos fleet behind. Her mind replayed every moment of the infiltration, the blaring alarms, the alien soldiers charging toward them, the desperate sprint back to the shuttle. It felt surreal, like something out of a nightmare. Yet here she was, alive, sitting in a spaceship hurtling through space. She glanced at Alex, whose expression mirrored her own unease. "Do you think it'll be enough?" she asked finally, breaking the silence. Alex hesitated before answering. "It has to be," he said quietly. "If we knocked out their command ship, it should throw them off balance. Maybe even force them to retreat. But will it stop them completely?" Mia pressed. "What if they regroup? What if they come back stronger?" Alex didn't have an answer. He wanted to believe that their actions had bought Earth some time, but the truth was, they didn't know enough about the Krylos to predict their next move. For all their planning and sacrifices, humanity was still woefully unprepared for a war on this scale. As the eclipse re-entered Earth's atmosphere, the crew braced themselves for what awaited them below. Reports from ground control painted a grim picture. Cities across the globe lay in ruins, their skylights shattered and streets littered with debris. Billions of people were displaced, seeking shelter wherever they could find it. Food and water shortages were becoming critical and hospitals overflowed, with the injured and dying. Even after the strike team's success, the Krylos attacks had left deep wounds that would take years if not decades to heal. When the Eclipse touched down at a military base outside New Chicago, Commander Rachel Dawson greeted them personally. Her uniform was wrinkled and dark circles shadowed her eyes, but her voice remained steady as she thanked the team for their bravery. "You've given us a fighting chance," she said. "Now it's up to us to make the most of it." "Commander," Dawson led Alex and Mia to a secure briefing room, where updates from around the world were being streamed in real time. Large screens displayed footage of burning cities, fleeing refugees, and makeshift shelters erected in parks and parking lots. Military leaders from various nations spoke via video link, sharing strategies and coordinating efforts to stabilize the situation. Despite the chaos, there was a sense of unity, a fragile but undeniable bond forming among those who had once been divided by borders and politics. Alex and Mia listened intently, absorbing the scope of the devastation. It was worse than either of them had imagined. Entire regions were without power or clean water. Communication networks were down in many areas, leaving people isolated and vulnerable. Worst of all, the psychological toll was immense. People were scared, terrified of what might happen next. Rumors spread faster than facts, fueling panic and paranoia. "You two need to address the public," Commander Dawson said abruptly, turning to face them. "Your names are already out there. People trust you because of what you've done. If anyone can calm them down and rally support, it's you." Alex blinked in surprise. "Us? We're not politicians. We don't know how to give speeches." "It doesn't matter," Commander Dawson replied firmly. "Right now, people need hope. They need to see faces they recognize, people who understand what's happening and aren't afraid to talk about it." Mia nodded slowly. "She's right, Alex. If we don't step up, someone else will, and they might not tell the truth." Reluctantly, Alex agreed. Later that evening, he and Mia stood before cameras in a hastily arranged press conference. The room was packed with reporters shouting questions, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of urgency. Flashbulbs popped incessantly, casting harsh light on the pair as they took their places behind a podium. "Thank you for coming," Mia began, her voice trembling slightly but growing stronger with each word. "We know these past few days have been terrifying for all of us. But I want to assure you that humanity is not defeated. We fought back today and we showed the Krylos that we won't go down without a fight." Alex stepped forward, his hands gripping the edges of the podium. "We destroyed their command ship," he said. "Without it, their fleet is weaker. This gives us a chance to rebuild, to prepare, and to protect ourselves. But we can't do it alone. We need everyone, every single person to work together. Share resources, help your neighbors, stay strong." The crowd erupted into applause, though skepticism lingered in some eyes. Alex and Mia knew their words wouldn't erase the fear or undo the damage, but they hoped it would inspire people to keep going. Hope, however fragile, was better than despair. In the days that followed, Alex and Mia threw themselves into relief efforts. They traveled to affected areas, meeting with survivors and offering whatever assistance they could. In New Chicago, they helped distribute food and medical supplies at a crowded shelter. In Los Angeles, they toured damaged neighborhoods, speaking with engineers working to restore power and communication lines. Everywhere they went, they saw resilience amid the wreckage, ordinary people banding together to care for one another. Despite the odds, but the scars of war were everywhere. In rural Texas, Alex met a farmer named Sam who had lost his entire crop to strange weather patterns caused by the Krylos' arrival. "I don't know how I'm gonna feed my family," Sam admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "Everything I worked for, it's gone." Alex placed a hand on Sam's shoulder. "We'll figure it out," he said. "We're in this together." Back in New Chicago, Mia visited a school that had been converted into a temporary housing facility. Children played quietly in the courtyard, their laughter tinged with sadness. One girl, no older than 8, approached Mia holding a tattered doll. "Are the aliens gone?" she asked softly. Mia knelt down to meet her gaze. "We made them leave for now," she said gently. "And we're going to make sure they never come back." Despite the progress being made, challenges remained. The Krylos may have retreated, but their presence had triggered environmental changes that scientists struggled to reverse. Oceans warmed unnaturally, causing massive storms and flooding along coastlines. Forest fires raged unchecked in parts of Europe and North America, consuming thousands of acres of land. Wildlife populations plummeted as habitats were destroyed. Alex spent hours consulting with researchers, brainstorming solutions to mitigate the damage. Together, they developed plans to deploy drones equipped with sensors to monitor ecosystems and identify areas in need of immediate attention. Mia used her platform as a journalist to raise awareness, writing articles and giving interviews highlighting the importance of environmental recovery. Meanwhile, governments worldwide began implementing new policies aimed at strengthening Earth's defenses. Military budgets expanded exponentially, funding the development of advanced weapon systems and early warning networks. Space agencies collaborated on ambitious projects to build orbital shields capable of deflecting incoming threats. Scientists raced to adapt Krylos technology scavenged from battlefields, hoping to unlock secrets that could level the playing field. Through it all, Alex and Mia remained at the forefront of the effort. Their partnership evolved into something deeper, a shared commitment to protecting humanity's future. Though neither of them had planned for this role, they embraced it fully. Knowing they couldn't turn away now, one night, as they walked along the shores of Lake Michigan, Mia broke the silence. "Do you think we'll ever feel safe again?" she asked. Alex paused, staring out at the dark water. "Probably not," he admitted. "But maybe that's okay. Maybe feeling safe isn't the goal. Maybe the goal is learning how to live with uncertainty and still keep moving forward." Mia smiled faintly. "That sounds like something worth fighting for." As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Alex felt a glimmer of optimism. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but humanity had proven itself capable of incredible feats when pushed to the brink. And, though the scars of war would remain, they served as reminders of what had been lost and what must never be taken for granted again. Months passed, and Earth slowly began to rebuild. The scars of the Krylos invasion were everywhere: crumbling buildings, empty streets, fields turned to ash, but signs of hope emerged as well. People came together in ways they never had before, sharing resources, volunteering their time, and working tirelessly to restore what had been lost. Governments set aside old rivalries to focus on a common goal: survival. For the first time in history, humanity felt united not just as nations, but as one species facing a shared threat. Alex and Mia became symbols of that unity. Their names were spoken in hushed tones by those who admired their courage, and their faces appeared on posters and news broadcasts around the world. They didn't seek fame or recognition, but they accepted it as part of their responsibility. If their voices could inspire others to keep going, then they would speak until their throats were raw. The two of them spent most of their days traveling between cities, meeting with leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens. In New York, they helped oversee the construction of new housing for displaced families. In Tokyo, they joined engineers testing prototypes of energy shields designed to protect against future attacks. In Johannesburg, they attended a summit where representatives from across Africa discussed strategies for rebuilding agriculture systems, devastated by climate shifts caused by the Krylos' arrival. Despite their efforts, Alex and Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. The Krylos might have retreated, but no one believed they were gone for good. Every night, satellites scanned the skies for signs of their return. Scientists monitored deep space signals, searching for any hint of movement. Humanity was on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Alex and Mia found themselves sitting on a rooftop in Paris. Below them, the city glowed faintly under the light of the moon, its beauty undimmed, despite the hardships it had endured. Mia leaned back, staring up at the stars. "Do you ever wonder what's out there?" she asked softly. "All the time," Alex replied. "It's strange, isn't it? We used to think we were alone. Now we know we're not, and that changes everything." Mia nodded. "Do you think the Krylos are the only ones? Or are there more civilizations like them?" "I don't know," Alex admitted. "But I think we need to find out. Ignorance almost destroyed us once. We can't let it happen again." That conversation stayed with both of them long after they left. Paris. Over the following weeks, Alex and Mia began advocating for a new approach to Earth's place in the galaxy. Instead of hiding behind closed borders, they argued that humanity needed to step onto the galactic stage to learn about other species, form alliances, and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. It wasn't enough to simply defend Earth. They had to become active participants in the universe. Their idea gained traction quickly. World leaders, desperate to prevent another catastrophe, agreed to form an organization dedicated to fostering intergalactic relationships. They called it the Intergalactic Council of Earth, and Alex and Mia were appointed as its founding members. Together, they worked to establish protocols for communication, trade, and diplomacy with alien civilizations. The Council's first major initiative was to send envoys into space, seeking out the Valens, the faction that had been fighting the Krylos for centuries. According to the classified files Mia had uncovered earlier, the Valens valued cooperation and mutual benefit. If anyone could help Earth navigate the complexities of galactic politics, it was them. The mission was fraught with risks. No human spacecraft had ever ventured so far beyond the solar system, and the technology required to make the journey was still experimental. But Alex and Mia insisted it was worth trying. We owe it to ourselves and to future generations to take this step, Alex told Commander Dawson during a planning session. If we stay here, waiting for the next attack, we'll always be playing defense. We need to go on the offensive not with weapons, but with knowledge. Commander Dawson reluctantly agreed, and within months, a team of astronauts, scientists, and diplomats boarded the EOS, a newly constructed starship equipped with advanced propulsion systems and communication arrays. Alex and Mia watched from the ground as the ship launched, its engines roaring like thunder as it ascended into the sky. For a moment, they felt a pang of envy. They wanted nothing more than to join the crew, but they knew their work was here. On Earth. As the EOS disappeared into the void, Alex and Mia turned their attention to other projects. They established research facilities focused on studying alien technology scavenged from battlefields. They collaborated with linguists to decode fragments of Krylos language recovered during the infiltration mission, and they worked tirelessly to educate the public about the importance of looking outward rather than inward. Their efforts paid off. Slowly but surely, Earth began to transform. Cities rebuilt themselves with sustainable materials and renewable energy sources. Space programs expanded, sending probes and satellites deeper into the cosmos than ever before. Schools introduced courses on xenobiology and interstellar diplomacy, preparing young minds for a future among the stars. Of course, not everyone supported the shift. Some people argued that humanity should focus on healing itself before reaching out to others. Others feared that making contact with alien civilizations would only invite more danger. But Alex and Mia refused to listen to the doubters. They had seen what ignorance and fear could do, and they were determined to chart a different path. Years passed, and the wounds of the Krylos invasion began to fade. New generations grew up hearing stories of the war not as cautionary tales, but as reminders of humanity's strength and resilience. Monuments were erected in honor of those who had sacrificed their lives, and museums displayed artifacts from the conflict, preserving the lessons learned for posterity. One day, nearly a decade after the battle, Alex and Mia stood side by side at the launch site of another starship. This one, named the Unity, was larger and more advanced than anything Earth had built before. Its mission was simple yet profound: to explore uncharted regions of the galaxy and extend Earth's hand in friendship to whoever or whatever it encountered. As the countdown began, Alex glanced at Mia. "Do you think we'll ever see them again?" he asked, referring to the Krylos. "Maybe," Mia replied. "But if we do, we'll be ready." The Unity lifted off, its engines blazing brightly against the blue sky. Alex and Mia watched until it vanished from sight, their hearts swelling with pride and hope. They didn't know what lay ahead for the crew aboard the ship, or for humanity as a whole, but they knew one thing for certain: Earth was no longer alone. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also brimming with possibilities. Humanity had taken its first steps into the unknown. And though the road ahead would be uncertain, Alex and Mia believed that courage and determination could overcome even the greatest odds. As they walked away from the launch site, hand in hand, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet reflection. The scars of the past would always remain, but so too would the promise of a brighter future. Earth had learned the hard way that ignoring the universe came at a price, but it had also discovered that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, hope could light the way forward.